Hi guys, welcome to the next episode of our video series. Actually, it's the first one of this video series that we haven't yet
it's a
named.
first.
It's like Domina Chase answers random questions that she just really fucking wants to.
The catchy title really rolls off the tongue, you know?
Right? It's so me. It's so me. No, so this question was from a member of our community, and it's actually something I've wanted to address and something that I actually I've talked about in my munches, my workshops, just one-on-one offhand, and it's something that people seem to really latch on to. So I really want to make sure I got it out and documented. So I took notes. So, the question of our community member was basically, how could they use rituals in order to lessen the psychological harm to their submissive that they were letting go of? And this is after a very long period of being in a DS relationship. So I didn't actually ask too many details just because I wanted this video to be more general. So, Patrick, do you want to talk about a little bit? Let's start with how important rituals are in a DS relationship first. So we will do another video on how to develop it, but let's do a recap. How important is rituals to us and to you as a submissive?
Very important.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you Sorry, guys. He is now in pet space. So, can you elaborate on that so you can help, our viewers, our subs, our DOMs, our switches understand how. Fuck my life. This is a bad. Okay, how do rituals affect your day? How about that? Let's ask a more detailed question. How does it affect your day?
Actually, I don't know if it has like a huge effect, like just on a day-to-day thing. Like, as far as like effect on the day, like, because most of our rituals are pretty small. We keep them simple, you know. Actually, we try and make it very intentionally so that they don't have a huge impact on the day, because we don't want it to be a drain on things. Like, they're designed so that we can do them easily all the time, even if there's a lot going on, because they might only take a few seconds, a minute, 2 minutes.
Okay, so based on that, how would you feel if we stopped doing any of those rituals, regardless of how small they are? How would that affect
I don't
you?
like it.
Okay, so the point that he failed to make, that I am trying to make, is the rituals, no matter how large or small, the longer that you're in a DS relationship, the more deep your DS relationship is, the more integral it becomes to your day, to where you just get, I don't like it, because we have a ritual for the way we say I love you, for the way when we wake up, even like,
Going to bed, smoking cigars. They're all very little individually, but they add up to a lot.
Right. So it becomes a part of your day. It becomes part of the rhythm of what happens in your day.
And it becomes just part of the headspace. Like, it's like just a reminder of who we are and what we are all the time. It's one of the examples of how BDSM infuses our lives, even when we're doing very normal, vanilla things.
Right. So that's why it's really important when you are ending a DS relationship. I actually think that this dominant I applaud them for being insightful and forward thinking and really trying to take care of their submissive, even if there is a planned end. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of education, and I have to move this close to my face because I don't have my glasses on, if you guys remember. Oh, you lost it. Sorry guys, you can tell we're new to this, but the information's good. So okay, so we've already talked about how rituals become really important to building a DS relationship. One of the things that I really love is behavior modification. And the reason why you have rituals is you want to start shaping the way that your submissive thinks and talks and acts. So there's different ways that you do that. So there's 3 general ways in order for you to do your conditioning them. So you do that through positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, and spontaneous reinforcement. Spontaneous one is actually not heard of as much. So negative reinforcement is when you're taking away something that is noxious to the person. You're saying there, it's, yeah, you know what, we're gonna go way too far into it. I'll skip to it. Okay. This is gonna turn into a whole psych lecture. I just realized I'm like, I need to scoot back. Okay, so there's the things that you need to take care of when you have rituals. There's things where you punish them, like when for instance pet says something annoying or puts like a sandwich with cheese he just made and it smells and tastes like vomit, then you're going to punish them by flicking them repeatedly on the face and on their balls.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! Yeah, yeah. He has to say that every time I flick his dick. Anyway, the second thing you need to do is you have to like deal with the rewards that you give to your submissive. That's when he does something really well. I like to give him bites. That's what I do, right? See, you want a bite now because you did.
That wasn't good.
I will figure this out. We need like a stand or something. Hey, by the way,
if
this
the cord
is.
didn't get caught between us.
I know.
Like,
well, this is a good time to
we're
like promote
literally
our
in contact with
Patreon.
each other
I know.
all the
Okay.
time.
Like go to our Patreon and like help us buy like a better setup. Anyway.
Is it Patreon or Patreon? Like I don't
know. I was saying that's a different discussion. Okay.
Because you're saying Patreon earlier, now you're saying Patreon. I don't know.
It's supposed to be Patreon, I think. Like G and I were having a discussion about that. So I was saying Patreon all the time, but she's like, I think it's Patreon. I'm like, that makes sense because it's supposed to be like patron.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so the third type is spontaneous. So that is something that just happens automatically. So the really good example for that for BDSM is if you have your slave or sub or S-type in a cock cage and then they get hard and then they feel that tightness. So it's an automatic thing that happens. That actually doesn't involve the dominant doing something active to the sub for them to have that sensation. So what I recommend is taking inventory of your day, kind of saying like, okay, what are the things that we do that we don't even notice anymore? Like when are you getting punished? When are you getting rewarded? And what are things that you get like an automatic reward from without my intervention? So what you want to do is, the psychological term is extinction, is you want to slowly start disconnecting those ideas. For instance, like if he were to do something good, if you don't get upset, we're not going to do it. It's an example, okay? Example, don't get upset, example. If we were trying to extinguish the idea of he's supposed to do good things for me, when he does something nice, let's say he cuts my sandwich for me, he makes me a sandwich, cuts it, and instead of saying like, oh, that's a good pet, and then bite, it would be like, thank you very much for making me a sandwich. Oh, I said it's just an example.
I know, but I don't like it.
You don't like it. You don't like it. He doesn't like it. So that way you are still honoring the service of your sub, but now you're taking away that reward. And so the more that you do these things, it's going to be to the point where they're not expecting, they're still going to miss it, but you're slowly removing it one by one. And then the next one is our punishments. This is different from punishment. Punishment is more like the first one. So like actual punishment. What do I do for actual punishment for you? You're actually really good. I know.
I am. I try to be a very good pet.
You try to be a very good pet. How do you get punished?
You made me read 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh, that's
worst
right.
fucking thing ever.
Yes. So I don't even. It's funny because I don't even remember what he did. It was just. I remember I just got so annoyed. I'm like, I need something that psychologically damages him for a long time, so he like remembers not to do this thing. I made him read 50 Shades of Grey. So for other people...
It's really, really bad. It's fucking terrible.
Okay, you know what? There might be some of our audience who would enjoy it, and that's fine.
It's a poorly written book. It's not just bad BDSM, it's bad writing.
We're totally going to have to edit this. We cannot.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So, as I was saying, for punishments... So instead of having, let's say, I know some D-types, they have bedtimes for their subs. And if they break it, they get a spanking, or they get a reprimand, or they have to write sentences. So what I would recommend as you're slowly backing down is acknowledge that the submissive did something wrong, but not have the punishment. Does that make sense? Like if you were supposed to go to bed at 9 p.m. and you didn't go to bed at 9 p.m., you wouldn't have, normally he would have to read like 5 pages of 50 Shades of Grey. But as we're trying
we'd be onto the sequels now. You made me read the whole book already.
I know. I was really upset.
She almost made me read the whole trilogy, but then she backed off because she realized like
I don't have
she probably
else
can't get a better punishment than
right.
that. So
I can't. I would extinguish it. Oh my gosh. Got distracted. So does that
side quests?
Did that make sense to you? Like if you were supposed to go to bed at 9, and I normally would make you read 5 pages, I would now say, as I'm trying to de-escalate, I would say, hey, you broke a rule. That's not something you're supposed to do. And even though it's going to hurt, really at this point, there's no way to make this painless. It's not. It's the end of a relationship or a type of relationship. The best thing that you can try to do is have it be an ethical ending. So even though it would make your submissive very sad, I would say, hey, you're supposed to go to bed by 9 p.m. I'm not going to punish you, but this is something that's really important, and that's why I have asked you to make sure to do this. So this is something you're going to have to do for yourself. So, yeah. Think of it. That's devastating that you're bringing up the fact that there will be a point in time that someone won't care about your bedtime. But it's a way of saying, hey, this is a thing that I think is really good for you. You should keep doing it because I care about you as a person. It wasn't just because you were my submissive and it could be that too. But if it's something that you thought was good for them, kind of put the emphasis back on them, that they're doing it to help themselves. So the third kind, spontaneous, a really good example that I saw when it comes to child development. This is actually where you see a lot of the ideas of extinguishing as in child development, is a child who flicks on a light switch on and off because they like the light coming on and off. Well, if someone were to disconnect that light switch from the light, then they wouldn't have that immediate gratification and it's removed. So that case, using the cock cage, that might be something that you would have to wean down instead of having it. You normally wear it 24 hours a day, so it becomes 18 hours, 12 hours. It's like a slow, gradual lessening of it to the point where, okay, now you're not wearing anymore. You can keep it because this is, just like sometimes you keep gifts from past lovers or boyfriends and girlfriends, then like, look, this is if you would like to keep this, you can keep this. So that way now it has a different emotional connection, because if you just abruptly stop, that person who with this, when they would see this cock age, the last thing that they remember is when they were allowed to wear it for 24 hours. Now with this gradual lessening, they might still remember all the times they got to wear it for 24 hours, but their last memory is of them wearing it for an hour, or you turning it over to them. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes.
So this is the sad part. Don't get sad, okay? I know this is hard. He already got really sad. Like, we started talking about this hours ago and he needed to like decompress. Is the actual end. So, they say that the most devastating events that anyone can go through is surviving the death of a loved one or going through divorce. And depending on how deep your DS relationship is, it might have a vanilla component. It might be tied to a marriage or a very long-term vanilla relationship. It's going to be really hard. Especially as a DS couple, you are so deeply and what is the word I'm looking for? Intentionally psychological with each other. You wanted to get into your sub's head, right? Am I in your head? Yeah, yeah. He went back into puppy space. Anyway, so what I usually recommend is first this period of time where you're kind of ramping down, have a time limit. Don't let it go on and on and on and on and on, whether it's the dominant or the submissive that is not interested in having it end. You don't want this to like become, death by 1,000 cuts. Thank you. I was like thinking slices. No, that's it. Death by 1,000 cuts. You don't want that. That is going to cause a lot of psychological harm to both parties. So first thing is you want to set a time limit for the ramping down. And because you have a time limit, second is you need to set a date. Like this is the final day. The reason why I recommend this is if you've ever experienced being in a scene that abruptly ends, you know how very jarring that is. And that's why I recommend having a ritual so that there is a definitive endpoint. This is what most people talk about when they say, oh, I need closure for my relationship. They don't realize they're looking for a ritual. They need a definitive endpoint to it because it will help them move on.
Kind of like we have funerals when someone dies. Exactly. It's a ritual for closure so people can move on.
Right. So there's funerals. An example that I like to give that's even if some people have never been to a funeral, is imagine when a very popular TV show goes off the air. They throw parties. People like gather around. This is something that's been in their lives for years. Excuse me. Especially before the time of streaming, like it was on at this hour every week and it was reliable, and all of a sudden it's gone. So those are examples that almost everybody can relate to when it comes to rituals. So the specific ritual that I recommend for the end of a DS relationship, kind of like have it be like in a nice, quiet, private area. It's just the two of you. And I would recommend is that collect all of the accoutrements, like all like the instruments, the toys, the clothing, the implements that were used in your relationship, in your DS relationship. And one by one, pick something out and then talk about it. Say, hey, do you remember where we got this? Or do you remember that scene or like the dungeon that we were at? So that, because you want to celebrate, like with a funeral, you want to celebrate the good times. Like, because if you're doing a closing ritual, obviously you still care about this person as a person. So, hey, like this is what we did together, and then put it aside. And then kind of repeat that with all of these items. And does it sound really long and intensive? Yes, it can be. But the longer the DS relationship is, the longer that grieving process is going to be, just like with any relationship. Do you have questions about what I'm saying?
Mm-mm.
You're just fiddling, you're getting anxious thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's okay. So the reason why this is actually something that I adapted from my own personal life, because so another question I get asked is like, well, what if I'm by myself? What if the other person doesn't want to do a closing ritual? Which is actually their right. Other people say like, oh, they owe me this, like, no. If the relationship is over, they don't really owe you anything. Is it kind of a dick move if they don't do it? Yeah, totally a dick move. But they don't actually owe you anything if the relationship is over. So you can actually do this on your own, one by one, like really like think about it and enjoy like the memories. Think of all the good stuff, because remember, you have a lot of time to grieve. So you think of it as you have the rest of your life to be fucking sad about this. Take this moment to be happy about it. And because sometimes people have this idea of like, I'm just going to throw shit away. I'm going to get rid of it. Or I think that's actually kind of just a me thing. Like, fuck this shit. Imagine me having an extreme personality.
I'm too cheap. I don't want to buy stuff all over again.
Oh no, I don't care. I'm like, fuck that shit. I don't want that energy around me. This is your chance to like really enjoy it. So this is actually something like a ritual that you can do either as a dominant or as a submissive. And you can do this ritual by yourself. Is it shitty? Yeah, but it's like kind of doing aftercare for yourself, like getting your own blanket, getting your own chocolate. It still works. You still need to have to take care of yourself. So what, did I have anything else?
You're so blind.
I am really blind. Basically, what it looks like, the specifics is really up to you. The best thing is just being kind and being ethical and communicating. And maybe and if that's a hard thing, because that's why it's ending, I get that. But really be gentle to yourself, be gentle to the other person. Realize that everyone always wants to like, oh, I don't want to hurt them, but like it's impossible. It's impossible. You're gonna hurt, and you're gonna hurt the other person. Not you, other person. Sorry, sweetie. The other person. And you just want to be ethical. Help that, just as we say with aftercare, you want to help transition the person from the scene back into their vanilla life. You're trying to help this person transition from being part of a DS relationship into being not in a DS relationship. Any other things that I should say or that you want to say?
Maybe just reiterating what you said earlier, that like no one's really owed it, because sometimes relationships do need to end fast. Like sometimes
like
it's
if there's
a bad,
abuse,
unhealthy. Yeah.
If there's like abuse, like, and that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's, or they go to jail, in an extreme case, like if you have one of the partners pass away suddenly, this is actually good for all of these situations, not just like a natural end where both partners decide to end the relationship. Even if it's a very dramatic ending, this is also very helpful for that. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, they don't owe it to you. But you know what? You owe it to yourself to have a good, happy, you deserve it. You deserve a ending that is healthy. And even if you have to provide that for yourself, that's okay. And I think that's it. That was kind of a sad topic, but I think it's really important. That's why I made the video. This is my first actual video about a real topic, not just saying, hey, we have stuff going on. Okay, so we're going to switch gears. I don't know. I don't know, we probably won't edit it. I'll probably just like upload this. So this is like a really cheesy time where I'm going to say, hey, if you like this, make sure to subscribe and like, all of that stuff. We will have links to our Patreon. We'll look it up. The thing. And
you can get it guaranteed that she'll answer your questions.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. So
yeah, you did.
I did forget. Thank you. You're such a good. Would you like a bite?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. The reason why he earned a bite is he reminded me. So something that we're going to add new to our $15 tier is that if you would like to have your video, you would like to have your question specifically addressed and answered by us. Yeah, just go ahead and, what?
By video.
Because
we answer a lot of questions just through comments.
Right, we answer questions through
quick,
comments.
Few couple lines,
right.
Brief overview stuff, not like a deep dive.
Right, and like other member, or you could get lucky, like the member who asked this question and just get like, get it for, freebie. But no, I did also want to reiterate that it doesn't, just because we started our Patreon doesn't mean that we're going to stop creating content for everyone. But, hey, if you really want a question answered, and we could do that. So so we don't overwhelm ourselves, we are going to be limiting that tier to 10 patrons only. We'll reevaluate if it gets filled fast or if not. Anything. Oh, and this is like video on YouTube like this, not one-on-one live. Just also need to reiterate that.
Oh, are we not doing that?
No, well, I mean, if they want to pay more.
I thought we were doing that for the top tier, like they have the option of either.
Oh, like if they don't want everybody else to see theirs? I don't know, we'll see. We'll figure it out.
I guess it depends on what people want, because, I mean, if people are willing to pay for it, then it's,
It depends also on the questions. Some questions are more generalized like this, or you might have a really super specific question that maybe we shouldn't share publicly on the internet. Either way, please subscribe. If you would like to interact with us more directly, also you can still go to the Patreon for $1 a month. You get access to our Not Safe for Work Discord server. Otherwise, you can find us on Facebook on Humanistic BDSM, inclusive as funk, kink. Anything else?
And DominaChase.com.
Oh yeah, and DominaChase.com. Yeah, he kind of. That's why, even though he's stinky, I keep him around because he's really good at managing my content. You're stinky. All right. Say bye, pet. Bye. See you guys later. Thanks for listening. I have no idea how long this is. Bye. And boop. Oh.